ஓகேவா? Hi Vibhushna. I know about you personally. To the audience, who are you and what's your career path?
Okay, so hi guys, I'm Vibhushna, the founder of VV Daily Detergent Private Limited. So as you can see my products here, I wish to do something like sustainable for a very long time. So far I've always done businesses, but nothing has been like very sustainable. So for the first time, I wanted to do something that is plant based. So my detergent liquids, dishwash liquids, and laundry power, they're basically plant based, and we do it out of orange peels and rose petals, and we would like to keep it as light as possible for the nature as well as for the people. So I think that is like a very crisp introduction about me.
Yeah, so we have been in the same college, and I have personally done a market research on your product, which in that days we called it as Magic Bubbles. From Magic Bubbles to daily detergent, what is the what is the trend you have faced, and what made you to change the name of the business or the idea of the business? What's your point of view?
Okay, so as we were saying previously, it was called Magic Bubbles. So Magic Bubbles was basically about selling economical washing powders. So we had washing powders for say 48 rupees, 60 rupees. That was like the minimum value that you could give for a washing powder. But then later, I wanted to do something in the niche market, which would be about the plant-based and biodegradable and recyclable plastic packaging. But I couldn't do that under the same name because people have got used to the thought that that's like a very economical product. Magic Bubbles is cheap, like it's not very expensive. But right now, this is like a premium product that I'm focusing on. So I wanted to do it in a different name, and that is how we came up with the name Daily Daily, because people tend to use this product every day. So it's also very catchy because we have brands that come up with just one single name. I don't want to take up any brand's name right now. So this they all just have 4 or 5 letters in the word, and it's just one name that they give. So I want to do something like that, and that is how we came up with Daily Daily. And when we had to register it as a private limited company, we had to come up with a name again. So that is how we got in the name BB Daily Detergent Private Limited. And this is like a crisp summary that I have.
The logo we have daily. I think daily is a word we are using daily. So
Yeah.
that's a very catchy name. And what's your product presence and what is your market? Are you inside Tamil Nadu or are you trying to reach to the up countries market also?
Okay. So right now it's a minimum viable product. So it's only available to a very few people in Coimbatore and inside Tamil Nadu to try it. So I've been sending it in couriers as well. But as you know, sending liquids in courier is also like a drama that we always have. So I thought maybe like pods would be something that is easier for me to send it in courier. And it is also a convenience that I would like to sell to my customers.
Okay.
So, and then we also had the bathing bar, vetiver scrub, neem combs and all. But later, one of my mentors from Tai Pune told me that, like I've diversified and diluted my brand in the very beginning into home care and personal care. So I should just stick on to one segment. So that is how I stuck on to just the personal care. So right now we only have 3 products that we're targeting on. So one would be the liquid, the dishwash liquid, detergent liquid, and we also have laundry pods that's coming out. So these pods are basically a capsule that you just pop into the washing machine with your clothes on it, like one load of clothes, and then this wrapper that comes along with it just dilutes in the washing machine. So this is also a biodegradable capsule that we have. So this is planet friendly, and it is also made out of plant-based ingredients. So end of the day, it's always about sustainability and how sustainable is your brand. So you care for the planet as well as you care for the individuals and the customers using the product, right? So I think that is something that's very important. And this is also a baby safe and a pet friendly product. So most of them, they don't, like mind giving biodegradable or like a plant based product for the babies and pets. They care a lot about these segments. So I think this is a segment that I'm focusing on right now.
Okay. Spoke about the product line and the product segments you are having. So when you are first coming up with a different range of products, what did you find more interesting? Is it the traditional way of making the product or the modern products? Because people are now moving towards a trend called tradition. they love traditional products, and people having some of them as favorites too, like neem toothbrush. There is more of aggressive marketing now taking place in the market. If we are going to a shop, they are having these neem toothbrush on the front of the desk, on the building desk. So people are, it's more easily pickable, and it is easy to catch. So do you think it is a, did you feel something like, no, did you feel something like stopped promoting that with that wear vetiver?
Yeah.
Is it okay or not from your side? So, because you got it from your mentor.
Yes, yeah.
What is your?
I did feel that what if the home care products actually took up, and then like I'm choosing the wrong segment. There's always this fear that you have when you're just starting up, because you have this overwhelming feeling that like what if I don't do this, and then the one that I chose is not the right one. The one that I left, the second option, must have been a great product or a great market, and I'm losing it. So I always think there is enough market for all the products, and all the business end of the day would make profit. So as you were talking about these neem toothbrushes and vetiver scrubs being present in the front of the market, I think that is also important for people to switch to, because all the corporates and the multinational companies, they've like brainwashed us to buying all the plastic stuff. For one example, I would say there's one very famous toothpaste company. They marketed in India saying that, charcoal is not something that you should be using to brush your teeth. It'll make your gums weak. And then they made a switch to a toothpaste. And later, today, they've introduced like charcoal activated brushes, charcoal activated toothpaste. So I think this is all like a marketing game, and people have finally realized and woken up, and they want to decide for themselves. So everybody today has a page on Instagram selling everything that is homemade and everything that is there with them. So now people have started making wise choices. They have like a spread of products across for them. So if you enter a supermarket, you have about 8,000 products that is given to you. And end of the day, you're only going to pick 8 to 10 products. And all these decisions are taken within seconds, like 3 seconds for a product. If your packaging is great and you've written homemade, organic, sustainable on it, then people will pick the package, because they feel that the health of people and like the lifestyle and everything has got really bad, and switching these products will make them feel better and like get them healthier and in shape and everything. So I think people do buy the story of organic, sustainability, recyclable plastic and everything. So all the brands should start running along in this race. Yeah.
But if we are speaking about those things, what do you think? Is on paper informations are good to sell a product, or should the product does actually need to consist something which they mention, which is healthier and which is natural? Because when you are taking, for an example, I'm moving away from your product. So if you are taking something like a fruit drink,
right.
So if you are it mentions that it is a healthy drink. There is no, there is real fruit flavor. But if we refer to the back of the packing, the actual fruit content is very much lesser.
Right.
So is there a power for the word, or the power for the actual ingredients inside the product?
Right. So I do like partially agree with this. So I also feel that a lot of people have started asking for certifications. Like people don't just blindly go buy products. Like maybe say 10 years back, they were okay with the marketing and everything. Like they say it's natural, and then there's neem and all in the advertisement, and they do believe it is natural. But today people see the certifications that is there, and you have like an authorized organization certification with you. If it's organic, then there are organizations that's giving you organic certification. Or if it's pet friendly, baby friendly, for everything you have tests and everything you have certification. So for me as well, I've applied for a certification for my product. So I think that is like one thing that all the people should also see. And I also feel they are doing it to an extent to, like that is like a believable story. Apart from this, as I was saying, like big brands, the marketing that they do, like the influencers that they get to market and everything is also like one part of the strategy to sell the products and everything. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that something goes up, because nowadays certifications are becoming very crucial in the market. Every brand promotes certification. Every brand is mentioning their certification in their advertisements. Okay, so the next question is, you have done your internship in Milky Mist.
Right.
How far does it helps you to bring a product in FMCG? Because that is also an
Yeah.
FMCG product,
Right.
and detergent is also an FMCG product. So, what are the motivations and the knowledge of working there
Okay.
you got?
So I did do a couple of internships. So one internship was in Milky Mist, and then I also did in City Furnish, like a renting furniture app,
Okay.
and then Go Floaters, co-working space application. I think co-working is also coming up, right?
Yeah.
So from all these people, I've learned marketing, like how important is it marketing for all the products and everything. So these have been services, and Milky Mist is like a product company. So being said that mine's a product company, and something that I learned from Milky Mist is that your branding should be like really strong. The moment you launch a product, it should go into the mind of the customer. So today I'm launching an ice cream, say from Milky Mist N, then it should be known to everyone. Like everyone should get to know Milky Mist has launched an ice cream today. So that is the power of marketing and the sales team that they've got. Like, they've got a very strong marketing team, I would say. So I've taken home like a lot of lessons from them. So recently, one interview from Vilva founder also said about the Milky Mist strategy.
Okay.
So she's asked the Milky Mist founder, like, how do you get people like talent in places like Coimbatore, Erode? So like Bangalore and Chennai is easier to get talent, right? So she was taking the example of the Milky Mist founder. She was saying, it's okay to develop talent. You know, like it's not always that you getting talent to the company and having it, but instead, molding it into the company's need and everything. So I recently had a hiring process like last week, and I didn't take that into my mind before considering. So I got like a couple of college students to work with me, like part time, so that they also get experience and they just have fresh knowledge that from the college, and they would also like to experience some like internships and some business and everything. They've got fresh ideas, and I think that is something that I would take home from Milky Mist, and I am using that right now as well.
Okay. So they are having a huge line of products.
Yes. Yeah.
So what is the product which you look forward to? Okay, I can follow the marketing promotions done by them. Because if you ask me personally, the way they sell their milkshakes are very unique. Because if you went to some stores, a departmental store or even the Kirana shops, they have a huge refrigerator that mentions their brand name.
Right.
And you can also have a price cut.
Right.
There is a lot of offers.
Yeah.
Everyone in Tamil Nadu, I'm assuming everyone in Tamil Nadu knows about Milky Mist milkshake than others.
Right.
Cummins having a separate market for them, and it is a huge thing. But in this shorter period of time, they put the brand in the minds of customer very quickly. So like this, do you have some of the products which you personally dealt with and it
Okay.
made a hit in the
So
market?
first of all, I'd say they've been in the market for like a long time.
Yeah.
They have a lot of funds
Yeah.
to do marketing. So I am just an emerging brand. So fund would be one big constraint for me. But if in case given that I have the funding and everything, then I think I would make a strong presence in digital marketing. There's one another company called Bunny Bottom, Super Bottoms, yeah. So they've done a lot of digital marketing, influencer marketing, and I think that has helped them become a very big brand. Like they have moms like Alia Bhatt or like new moms coming in. So I think a lot of people could relate to these celebrities and relate to these influencers. So I think that is something that I might take. But given that in my product, I would choose people that choose sustainability, and people who choose plant-based and, like organic things that they would like to do. So our products are basically made out of, so the detergent is made out of rose petals. We keep them and make them into a bioenzyme with jaggery and all the plant ingredients and surfactants. And the dishwash liquids are made out of orange peel, lemon peel. So I think I would go to that particular kind of influences and get my brand position.
We talk mostly about marketing.
Yeah.
So to the other departments, how you financially build daily detergents, and what is your operational efficiency?
Okay.
Because I think those are the other things which also plays a major part in your business.
Right. So it's just a 6 months old baby. So I call my business a baby.
Right.
So it's just a 6 months old baby. So for now, I funded from the previous startups that I've had, like, not like a startup, but a small businesses that I've had. So from Magic Bubbles, I sold about 12,000 kgs of detergent. So with that, I did get some profit, and I've taken that home. So with that, and from the cake and everything, I've put that funding in, and I've also got some amount from the friends and family. I've also planned to take government grants and subsidies. So I'm a part of the startup TN. So it is under process, and once I have the grants and subsidies that they're giving for the women entrepreneurs, I think that will also be of a great use. So for the first 2 to 5 lakhs, it's about grants, and then they have some subsidized amount for like a very low interest that they give to the women.
Okay.
The startup TN is like supporting a lot of people recently, and a lot of them have taken home like huge amounts of money for the business, and they've also been successful. So you submit like a proper report on what is your plan down the line, like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and then they're ready to give you money to support your dreams and ideas. They have about 10,000 plus startups in the startup team lab right now. So I think that is also something that I would do. So I'm looking forward for the funds from startup team. Yeah.
What do you think is the most difficult situation? Leading a team or following your lead?
According to me, I would say, leading a team is very difficult because not all five fingers are the same. So you'll have people with different talent. Like they might be talented, but they'll have other things going on in their life, and then you'll have to get them to work. And being said that, I have people who are also working part time for me. So they'll have something happening in the college, like exams, semester, and everything. And sometimes I do feel bad, like getting them to work, like especially if it's a Sunday, then they'll want to go out with the friends, and then I cannot tell them, like I need this reel today. So sometimes I also sound like arrogant boss to myself. So and then just I say to myself, that's okay. Like let them give it when they want to. And I think it's not always okay to like bend and go with everything. So I think I should be a little boss, like take up that leadership quality.
Okay.
So all of us are learning in the company. So I'm okay with this for right now. Yeah.
Okay. So these are that leading a team or following your.
Leading a team is difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question is like there will be some point in your life that that will tend to make you some decisions. It's not like taking up a business or leaving your current job. Something that made you to realize, okay, I need to go in this way. This is my way.
Okay.
What is such thing?
So one thing would be I always thought I was born to be an entrepreneur. I come from an entrepreneurial family, like everybody's in a business, and I've also been married recently into an entrepreneurial family. But there is one small break that I did take, like for about 1.5 years. I was working in Yamaha because I wanted to have a corporate experience and understand how the systems are out there in the corporate world. So all the mentors that I had in my college and everybody told me that it's very important for me to learn the corporate systems like in the field, at least for say like a year or two, and then get back into business because that will help me understand my business more. And I do feel that 1.5 years working in Yamaha and the head office as a HR has helped me handle people better, like hire people easily. Being said that it's a small business, so it's like a one-person job to start with, like getting people, setting up the team and all. You will have to do that initially by yourself. So I think that and all has helped me. This HR thing has helped me do that.
Okay.
So this is something that I took a decision and I'm happy about it. Yeah.
Okay. So next question is like on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your rank on your product and your way of handling business? Because you are a budding entrepreneur. Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. But there will be some transitions in your business scale. Even if this is a 6 months, from first month to second month, you might have some improvements, and you might have lost some hindrances you are facing from the other side. So now, what will you rank from first month to 6 months? What is your improvement in percentage?
Okay. So Not just the 6 months. So I started out when I was like 17 years old, and today I'm like 23.
Okay.
So over these years, there's been like a lot of small businesses, side gigs, like business gigs that I've been doing. I started off with event management company. So it's like a small scale event management company that I was doing very close to my UG college. Like birthday parties or say small dates that I would set up for people, and they were paying me for it. It was fairly okay. And then I was also doing a gifting consultancy. So I make hampers because all of them wanted something creative. They didn't have time to set up the hamper. So they would be happy to pay for it.
Okay.
So I did find opportunities there, and then I started doing that. And COVID happened. So then all of us had to shut up everything and then go back to our homes. And then when I went, and during this COVID, this home baking thing was like taking up. And by April, March, everything, the code is happening. April, I started my home baking the space. There's a home bakery I had in Tirupur. That did happen well as well, because like all of them, the bakeries were shut down. They wanted something yummy, like birthdays and all to celebrate and everything. And that happened for like about a year. And but then like in the middle I had to go back to my campus for my post graduation.
Okay.
So in the second semester I had to get back to my MBA, and I couldn't be there all the time, so the order started getting messed up. And then I realized it was not good to have a service business. It is always needed that you'll have to be present there. So, and then I wanted to do something about the products, and I thought, okay, I've done like 3 things, but now it is time that I get real, like something that I actually want to do. And that's how Magic Bubbles started when I was in the college. And then I remember you all doing market research for me for the Magic Bubbles. Like, you all went to the rural parts and all, because I was selling through self-help groups, and I think that was very, like well said and well written marketing research that you all gave me.
From a self-help group, now you are doing a commercial. Now you are dealing in a commercial way. So you are catering the whole retailer segment, I hope. So in Coimbatore, what is your base?
Okay, so self-help groups was like okay, because I would know that 1,000 packages would be going this month, and I will get the money for it. Getting money might be in installments, say half the amount they give when they're taking the product, and then the rest when they sell it and everything. But now I'm not certain about what will be the volume that I'll sell for this month. It'll depend. This week it might be 6 bottles. Next week it might be 8 bottles. So it depends on the marketing boost to the post that I'm doing and everything. So I think that is one major difference that has happened, like from that to this. Like there it was predictable. This is what is going to happen. Here it is like, okay, today this might happen. Tomorrow there might be more that's needed. I've also set up like pop-up shops, types for this.
Pop-up shops in the sense?
Yeah. So we have something called Angadi and this Roly-Poly types.
Okay.
So they have this exhibition types for small businesses.
Okay.
So this Angadi is basically some 12 small businesses that has come together, which also includes Daily. We introduced Daily detergent in an Angadi in E-Road. So this happens every month in some small town, or like a big town, say Coimbatore, Tirupur. So there's one coming up in Tirupur in the month of March. We go set up a stall there for like a day for brand recognition, and we have people come in, like walk into the stall. We get to talk to our customers and understand them better. So I feel for a brand that is just starting up and that is also focused on D2C, it is important to understand what your customer needs. So I have like samples there. I give it out to them, and then they reach back to me for the products if they like it.
Okay.
And then like even if they're not okay buying the product at that moment, then I ask them like what you expect out of a product. The customer interaction that I get there, the amount of information that is happening there, I cannot get anywhere else. So I am,
your product.
Yeah.
Really well.
So I would, I always love to go set up a stall somewhere and listen to them. And my mentor from Kovai Palmudan Nilayam, the owner of Kovai Palmudan Central Service, also told that I can set up kiosks in his Kovai Palmudan Nilayam all around in Coimbatore and other places to understand my market better. So some competitions have also helped me, like EOS GSEA, Global Student Entrepreneur Award, and then this one thing called IBCN that happens. So these things have also helped me because I go pitch there, and then there are business people sitting there. They give me ideas, and then they tell me like this would work, this wouldn't, because like having mentor is very important in a business. I would say the mentor would have done some mistakes for like 12, 20 years in his business, and you would like skip that part of doing the mistake. They'll tell you this is something that won't work, this will work. So you won't waste your time sitting and doing something again and making a mistake, because your time is saved by them telling it this won't work. So I think it's very important for all of us to find mentors. And I found my mentors through these competitions and everything.
Okay. So I think that is a platform for everyone to reach out to some people to get the guidance. It's
Right.
really helpful. Okay. So meanwhile, when you are speaking, I just have this quick question. Like, how these, when you are talking about pop-up stores, or if someone needs to do a business on a small scale with a limited amount of budget, is it really good to do it with a kiosk setup, or I'll give an example. I'll give a example. So in Chennai, in Besant Nagar, you can find so many shops. On the platforms, there will be very affluential kinds of products like uh, waffles and home baked cookies and other cakes and all of the products.
Yeah.
Does that marketplace can cater? Or how can I say? Does that marketplace can cater a premium segment of products like that?
Okay, so we can also find the same thing happening in RS Puram right now. Like, if you could see, there are a lot of small brownie shops, ice cream shops that have popped up here and there on the road. And I see a lot of people walking in there every day, because they, like, feel instead of going into a big shop, ordering, waiting for it to come, it's easier to grab and then just walk, like, enjoy the nature, the breeze and everything.
Right.
And then, like, a couple of college students also who have set up here in DB Road.
Okay.
So I think that is something that is like recently picking up culture. So they feel you did not invest a lot of money on a food truck, or like invest a lot of money on a rent, the furniture, setting, and everything for the interiors and all. This is like a less expensive version to try your product. Like, will it work or something, And but people tend to have a notion that they don't want to be big brands, so they're just doing it for like a side gig, like they just want to make money for some time. So that is the perspective that people have. So I think for like premium brands, this wouldn't work, and especially in India, it wouldn't be taken in that sense. So they're always considered as like a roadside shop.
Okay.
However good the cart might look, or however good the food truck or something might look, but it's notion to be a street side shop. That is my point on this. So I don't know if that's what
Because they
you
are
think.
giving the quality and it is on a small scale. I think
Yes.
that's okay, because
Yeah.
on a small scale you are getting a well made cakes or something like
So I also see a lot of people doing it in TableMate and all. So you have this TableMate, they set it there, they put 2 A4 sheets, and then they're okay selling the homemade brownies or something. Like, I think it is not the traditional way of doing business anymore. So now everybody wants to do business. Like, even if they have like a full-time job, they're okay taking up a part-time job. They're okay supporting us.
Okay, so how far your product is on e-commerce and quick commerce? Because in these days e-commerce and quick commerce are two separate entities, so I'm just differentiating.
Okay, so right now we have it in e-commerce. We're selling through Instagram, and there's a website that we're building, and we're also selling on. We are planning to sell on Amazon, Flipkart, and everything, like ship. Okay, yeah, there are shipping partner and everything. So Shopify, yes,
Yeah.
Shopify. So we're planning to do it there. So quick commerce also, yes, because people tend to have a thing that, like, I decide to buy this product, I want it in 8 minutes, I want it in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I think having it in quick commerce like Blinkit, Instamart, and all is like really important. So we are also planning to list ourselves there. Like, after the certification and all, we thought we'll go big. So we're waiting for the certifications to be done. And yeah, so I've also had magic bubbles on Amazon, but not on quick commerce exactly, because by then we didn't have it. But I think for this product it would be performing better, because we have like a lot of baby products and everything there. So there are also sites that are exclusively for baby products. So we'd also like to list ourselves there after the certification, or because they require certification before we do so.
So people who don't know about that, quick commerce is something like Zepto and Instamart, and e-commerce comes under Shopify, Amazon, Flipkart. Those comes under e-commerce. This would be my last question.
Okay.
This is an out of portion question actually.
Okay.
You have traveled to many abroad countries. I saw it for the past 1 year. So, what is your experience? What is how is the countries actually? Because we get many suggestions like Paris is good and Netherlands is
Yeah.
good. But what is the actual scenario over there? Does it
Okay.
worth the hype? Just
Yeah,
I am curious.
I recently went to Paris and Nice,
Okay.
so I think it's great. Whatever you see on Instagram is true, like to an extent,
Okay.
and it's also dirty. It's not always the romanticized part that you see on Instagram that is true, and it's all about the filters and how like you do it. All the tourist spots are like super crowded. It's very hard to get a photo without anyone. So I
Okay.
think everybody's editing that, and I also did go to the supermarkets of these places in order to. I am someone who says that going to the supermarkets of these places will help you understand the culture of the place better. Like what do they eat and what do they have? Like what is fast selling? What do they have in the front rack and everything? I did see about detergents as well there. Like how do they do? So for them and all, it's all the 5 liter cans and like all bulk. So they just like to store up for the whole year.
Okay.
So I think that is like completely culturally different from India. So here we have the sash concept. We have like small sachets of detergent powder, shampoos, everything comes in small packs. So for them, it is totally like stocking up for one whole year. That there are a lot of cultural differences that we have. Some of them are true that is there online, and some of them are like just made up, like someone's version of the story or something. So
So
traveling will give you a lot of
even when I came across some articles or Instagram reels, uh, when the foreign companies tried to enter India, they faced a huge backlash because of the sachet trends here.
yeah.
Other products and brands which is on India based, they were developing these sachet concepts. Even today, we are having sachets for dry fruits, but
Yes.
no, but we are getting it in the kirana shops, but not in supermarkets or something.
Yeah, but there are brands that have developed dry fruits in a sash for foreign tastes. So, like foreign brands have come in here and then they've developed because they will want to adopt to the Indian culture. Like
Okay.
Omega 3, there's a brand that
Okay.
sells all expensive dry fruits in a packet. So,
Okay.
yeah. I think even they're like okay with this culture right now. Not exactly for everything, I would say, but for some products, yes.
Yeah, I think it's better to, if you visit other nations,
Yes.
you should see the market.
Exactly, because it'll
If
help
you
you
are a business
understand
person.
so much. Not just business person, like on the whole, it'll be like, oh, so this is something that they use and this isn't there in India. Or maybe say like big brands that is there in India, they have like so many flavors and so many smells and everything, like a lot of new variants there. So that'll help you understand a lot and learn a lot. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I can sum up with this thing, and congratulations for your growth, and I wish daily detergents goes very well into the market, and as daily it will be in everyone's house in some point of the time. So
Sure.
thank you, and
Thank you so
very
much.
much.
It was lovely talking to you, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.